What's up, guys? I'm Kyle, the human strength expert, and in today's video, I'm going to explain to you why you need to begin fasting if you're serious about weight loss. Way back in 2014, I was getting ready to compete in another bodybuilding show, actually 2 bodybuilding shows. I had competed in 5 shows prior to that. It was the first time that my wife was going to see me compete. So about 8 weeks out from the contest, I'm researching as I always do and looking how can I really get super lean, leaner than I've ever been. Now that might not be your goal to get down to 4%, 5%, but the concept still applies of what I read on one night back in April of 2014. And it was this: we have stubborn fat. For men, it's typically your lower abdomen and your love handles. The reason it's stubborn is it's a different type of fat cell receptor. With that receptor, it has a very poor blood supply. Now, the first step in fat loss is mobilization, meaning getting blood into the area to get the fat out to be used as energy. Well, if we can't get blood into the area, we can't get rid of that fat. That's part of the reason it's stubborn. That's why that is going to be the last thing to go on 99% of us men. So as I'm reading that night in April of 2014, I come across the one way where you can really increase blood flow to stubborn fat areas, which is fasting. Now, prior to that, I had read about fasting a little bit. It wasn't really anything too popular yet, but I thought it was crazy. I was a bodybuilder. I didn't want to lose muscle. I didn't want to go into starvation mode. You had to constantly eat. You had to have all these small meals throughout the day. Well, something clicked in my head that night, and the next day I switched to fasting. And I was doing a 16-8 protocol. Nothing fancy. That's basically your average intermittent fast. But right away, I noticed the difference as far as my hunger levels and as far as my mental clarity and just feeling good. I was super excited about what I had learned. So after that night, I began experimenting the next 8 weeks. And from that point forward, I knew that fasting was the one way, the one absolute truth when it comes to nutrition that is the end all be all when it comes to fat loss. So we have a lot of hormones in the human body, but there's only one hormone that we really have a large degree of control over. That hormone is insulin. Insulin is the most anabolic hormone in the body. That means growth. Now that might sound good if you want to build muscle, but most of the time, insulin is helping our fat cells get bigger and fatter, and even helping us to grow new fat cells. The bad thing about that is once we grow a new fat cell, it takes 10 years for that fat cell to die. But that's a topic for another video. With insulin and fasting, you have to know that insulin is largely and mainly produced when we eat. Yes, it's dictated by what we eat as well, but when we eat. So the more often that you are eating, the more you are outputting this hormone insulin. So what does insulin do? When we eat, blood sugar goes up, nutrients are flooding the bloodstream. Insulin is released from your pancreas to store those nutrients. Remember, it's a storage hormone. It's an anabolic hormone. It's going to store those nutrients, shuttle them off to where they have to go. And if you're lucky, a lot of that's going to go to the muscle cell, to the muscle tissue. If you're like me and like most men, a lot of that's going to go to your body fat storage. So insulin is released, lowers your blood sugar back to a baseline, and then the next time we eat, the same thing happens. The problem that I've seen throughout the years is most people, most men, have a large degree of insulin resistance built up. Insulin resistance is when your body starts resisting the effects of insulin. So let's say I eat a meal, insulin's released, let's say 100 units of insulin to make this real simple. And next year, now for the same amount of food, it takes 110 units of insulin to store and get that blood sugar back down, store those nutrients. Then maybe the next year it takes 120 units. And over time, all of a sudden your body can't produce enough insulin because it's resistant to the effects of it. And what happens? You could become type 2 diabetic. This is when doctors will put you on insulin shots or things of that nature. Now the problem with that, and I've seen it with clients throughout the years, they're giving you the very thing that is going to make the problem worse. So the extra insulin that you would then take is jamming this sugar, this blood sugar that's floating around in your bloodstream, which is very toxic. It's jamming it into things like your fingertips, your toes, your eyes. That's why a lot of type 2 diabetics that are very insulin resistant have to get fingers and toes amputated. They start to go blind. So that blood sugar, if we have a large degree of insulin resistance, is poison to the body. We cannot allow that to happen. So now that you have a basic understanding of what insulin is and what it does in the body, that leads to the question of how do you get started with fasting? And I don't like the term intermittent fasting. That's very cliche. Just think of fasting when you are, and we're referring to abstaining from food, abstaining from calories. The first thing you need to do is eat less often. And the first thing I always hear from people, what I need to eat, I need my energy, I need food. You don't need food that often. Two things I need you to realize. Food is a drug. Food affects the internal biochemical and hormonal environment of the human body. That is the definition of a drug. So when we withdraw food and start eating less often, I'm not even saying eating less often, you're gonna get withdrawal symptoms. And a lot of people will take that as, I gotta eat, I need my energy, I'm getting headaches, I'm getting hypoglycemic. Not so. Those are withdrawal symptoms. Those go away very, very quickly. So food is a drug, keep that in mind. The second thing you gotta remember is that your body fat is food. So your body fat is food. Now, what do I mean by that? This excess body fat we have is, the main reason we have it is as a storage mechanism. It's stored energy on our body. Each pound of body fat that you have holds about 3,500 calories of energy. 3,500. So even if you only had 10 pounds of body fat that you wanted to lose, first of all, that would mean that you're already in pretty good shape, so kudos to you. But 10 pounds of body fat is equivalent to 35,000 calories that you have to give your body a reason to tap into as an energy source. If we're constantly eating, even if you're eating clean and you're following all the correct nutrition principles, you're not gonna signal your body a reason to tap into that body fat as fuel. So you can literally go days without eating any food. Now there's other things we'd want you to do within the fast as far as supplementing with salt, sodium, potassium, which we'll get into in another video. The longest fast on record, just so you can have this in mind as you begin your fasting journey, is 382 days. This guy lost, I want to say 200 pounds. He reversed every disease he had. He did it under the supervision of doctors, and this is back in the 60s, I believe. He was a Scottish guy, a Scottish fellow, but 382 days. Most people in the developed world have never gone a day or gone a complete overnight cycle without eating. So the first step you have to do is eat less often. That's where you begin. You eat less often, you cut out a meal, you decide that, okay, maybe I'm not gonna have breakfast, maybe I'm not gonna have dinner. So take what you're doing, cut out a meal, and we begin there. And then we build off of that. And then we start to build momentum. We start tapping into those body fat stores that we want to use as energy. We gotta signal the body, and we do that by manipulating that hormone insulin that is largely released when we eat. Thanks for watching today's video. I need you to do a few things for me. I want you to hit the like button. That lets YouTube know that you like what I'm putting out and lets me know to do more videos like this. I need you to leave a comment, whether that's a question or whether it's something you like. If it's a question, I'll answer it. If it's a comment that you liked it, I'll make more videos like this. And lastly, I need you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button, because once you subscribe, YouTube will help get the word out to other people, and you hit the notification, you'll be alerted when I put out new videos. Otherwise, you might miss them.